Defining your target audience. Now, that's a challenge for startup businesses as well as established businesses. Why is it a challenge? Well, it's because many businesses are just too vague about who their target audience is. The response I get a lot is when I ask a business person about their target audience, well, they tell me that everyone is their target audience. And you know what? That just can't possibly be true. But also, most small businesses just can't market to everyone simply because they don't have millions of dollars to market to everyone. Nike spends billions and billions of dollars. And you know what? They still don't reach everyone. So when a business wrongly thinks that their target audience is everyone, or just have not defined that target audience clearly enough, well then when they're crafting their marketing messages to reach them, their messages become so vague that no one is motivated to pay attention to those messages. So when that happens, a business person becomes extremely frustrated with the marketing. They say, that's it, marketing doesn't work, I'm not doing it anymore. But the fact of the matter is, marketing does work. It's just that if you aren't talking to the right people with the right message and using the right medium, then yeah, it isn't going to work. So defining your target audience is a multi-step process that we've broken down into little bite-sized pieces. We have multiple online sessions that you can look at when it comes to your target audience, and we encourage you to take them in the appropriate order. Thanks for watching. Before we go any further with talking about target audiences, we have to understand, first off, consumer behavior. That's why some people buy certain products or services while others don't. And let's be frank, the goal in all marketing is to recognize that we may have to change consumers' behavior from purchasing a tried and tested product or service to considering another product or service from another business. And for the record, changing consumer behavior in marketing should always be done in an honest and ethical way. Good marketing is not about twisting people's arms, it's not about leaving out details, and marketing is not about making promises that can never be delivered. That's bad marketing, and it will eventually catch up with businesses, and it doesn't encourage habitual purchasing. None of our wow sessions are ever going to encourage you to do that kind of bad marketing. Good marketing is all about providing choices and options for people. They may be currently using a specific product or service, and your marketing gives consumers messages about why they may benefit from using your product and service compared to the one they're currently using. An example of habitual purchasing is when a consumer goes to a supermarket and grabs the same item off the shelf, just like they've always grabbed the same item off the same shelf. Often, it's out of habit rather than information or need. That purchase may or may not be the best purchase for that consumer. It's just been a habit purchase. Your marketing is to provide them with the knowledge of your product so they can choose to continue with their habitual purchasing or to experience another option. Habitual purchasing of an item happens over a period of time because there is a process a consumer goes through before they buy anything. First, the consumer has to become aware of your product or service. They do this through multiple trusted sources of information. Most likely, it's a blend of getting marketing messages from traditional mediums like television, newspaper, radio, billboards, magazines. And they blend that with online and social media sources, as well as news sources. But what is a trusted source? Well, that really depends on the consumer, and this is one of the reasons it is essential for businesses to define exactly who they are talking to. Some people believe everything they see on TV, while others believe everything they read on Twitter. Each consumer is different, and in trying to define who you need to talk to, you need to answer some questions before you spend any money on doing any kind of marketing. The first question is, why would a consumer want to buy my product or service? What problem do they have that my product or service will fix? What marketing message should my business create to break through the clutter of all those other marketing messages, so the consumer will pay attention just to my message. And then, what trusted sources of information is that consumer paying attention to? If a business has too broad a target audience, then they will find that answering those 4 simple questions is very, very hard to do. And that means you need to spend a little bit more time in defining who you're trying to talk to. Before consumers consider changing their habit from buying one item to considering buying another, they go through 6 stages. They first need to become aware of the product or service. And then they need to gain some knowledge about what that product or service can do just for them. Next, the consumer has to have this little chat with themselves. You see, they have to have a talk about whether yes or no, or whether they can assure themselves that they want and have the desire for this product or service. Then they need to have another chat with themselves about how much value do they place on that desire, and is it enough for them to purchase the product or service with the amount of money that that product and service is demanding. Now, if they say yes, then the 5th stage in this process is for the consumer to actually experience the benefits of buying that product and service. And then finally, they buy the product and service again, and that is the habitual process in consumer purchasing behavior. Now, how long does it take for a consumer to go through these 6 stages? Well, it really depends on the product or service, what the price is, and if it is commonly used product or service. For example, when a consumer needs to purchase a pen, their chat with themselves will happen pretty quick, as they have lots of information already in their heads about pens. And hey, you know what? Pens aren't that expensive. So if it was a bad decision to buy a pen, well, that's not too upsetting. But if the product or service is not a common household product, or if they've never purchased it before, or if the price is hefty, then the conversation consumers have with themselves will take a lot longer. Let's look at each one of those stages and see if I can give you a bit more information about each. As mentioned, the consumer has to become aware of the product through a trusted source of information. It is your responsibility as a business person to become educated on understanding which sources of information certain people are drawn to. One of the myths of marketing is called the myth of me. That's when a business owner says, well, I like radio, so therefore everyone likes radio. So I will use radio to get my message out to my target customer. Or, I think social media is stupid, so I'm not going to use it. Now, radio is an excellent and effective medium in your marketing, and so is social media. The mistake with the myth of me is that it really is irrelevant what sources of information the business owner likes. It's more important to find out what the business's target audience likes. If a business's target customer is all over Facebook, well then guess what? That business better have a Facebook page. So creating awareness about your product or service is the first step in creating and changing consumer behavior. Number 2, the knowledge stage. Consumers search out more information about a product or service after seeing some sort of advertisement in whatever their selected sources of information are. That would be you putting an ad somewhere to create awareness for your product or service. Now, once the consumer is aware, then they'll make themselves more knowledgeable about the product or service as well as about whatever company is selling that product or service. They could do some generic research online about the product or service, as well as other companies who may also be providing similar items. They may look for reviews or testimonials online or in trade publications. They will go to your website, so you better have a website, and you better have one that's professional and provides the information that these people are looking for. If they're trusted sources of information or social media networks, then they may ask others about your company, about the product or service, about whether they've had any problems with that kind of a concept. And then, of course, they may ask their friends. What the consumer is doing at this stage is simply collecting more knowledge before they decide if they want to purchase your product or service or not. Number 3, desire. I have a love-hate relationship with desire. I love it because I love consumer behavior and trying to figure out why people do what they do. And number 3, desire is the strangest of consumer buying processes. I hate it because this is usually where the consumer gets hung up. So let's talk the love first. Did you know that 80% of purchase decisions are based on an emotion? Think about that. When was the last time you bought something for a purely rational reason? Purely rational. Well, someone may say they bought food for a rational reason because we need to eat. Okay, let me challenge you on that. Let's say you're hungry and you have minimal amount of money. You go to the store and you buy macaroni and cheese. Is that a rational decision? Well, probably not, because the chances are that when you went to the store, you bought mac and cheese, but out of habit, you bought Kraft mac and cheese. That's an emotional purchase. A rational purchase would be to buy the generic mac and cheese, because you need cheap food to fill your tummy. The emotion comes in because Kraft mac and cheese has created this soothing feeling about the product and that it tastes good. The generic brand does not have any emotional feelings attached to it. So that said, what emotion can you use to help people decide to purchase your product or service, knowing fully well that 80% of purchase decisions are based on emotion? We go into a lot of detail in finding that emotion in one of our branding sessions, because that emotion should be part of your brand. Can you imagine if you were creating a name and your name said whatever that emotion was that your target audience wanted to buy? How powerful that name would be? Your marketing will help people when they are at that desire stage in explaining to them the benefits for why they should buy your product or service. Now, why do I hate this stage? Well, here's the real crux of consumer behavior. People love to complain about things. They're not happy with this. They want something more, or they want something different. They wish they could do this. They will become aware and knowledgeable about solutions for this. But they don't buy simply because this is a stage that they have to decide to stop complaining or wishing and put their hard-earned money into buying something. And for many products and services, some consumers never get past the desire stage. This really is a powerful and dangerous phase for businesses. Why? Well, up to this point, a business has been marketing the product and service, trying to provide consumers with another option to what those consumers are currently buying. But it also means that a business is basically marketing for all the other businesses who sell this product or service. You're just creating that knowledge, that awareness, that desire. Once someone has moved past the desire stage, this is where they have to think about all the businesses that supply this product or service. The decision now becomes from which one to buy from. Thanks to the internet, it has become a trade show without any salespeople. In the comfort of their homes, in their lovely fluffy PJs, consumers can do all this research that builds up to the desire before they even talk to any salesperson to make a purchase. This makes for a lot of pressure on a business to ensure that every person in their organization understands that they are in sales. Yes, it costs money to train people in how to sell. And I hear small businesses say often, why would I invest money in training for my staff when some of them will leave me? That's not a good mentality to have, because I say, if you don't train them, how much damage will they do while they're with you?
At this stage, people are ready to buy. It will be the someone in your company that will stop the consumer's desire to buy this product. They still have the desire. They just don't have the desire to buy it from you. This is where the good and the bad marketing comes into play. When someone has purchased your product or service, all the promises, benefits, solutions that you used in your marketing must now come true. The marketing exchange is when someone buys something from you, they give you money, you give them a product or service. This marketing exchange breaks down when something goes wrong. For example, someone may buy from you, you give them a product or service, and their check bounces or their visa doesn't go through. You're not happy. Well, what about if someone buys from you, they give you money, and you give them a product or service, but that product or service doesn't quite satisfy what they thought it would? Well, they're not happy. It is this experience stage that will move people into the habitual buying mode. There is an old saying in the business world, and it may be old, but it definitely is true. It takes 5 times the cost in money to keep a current customer happy compared to cultivating a new customer. A business has created the awareness. They've created the knowledge. They've got the desire. And they've had someone actually buy the product and service. That's a lot of effort in time and money. You can't let bad marketing promises compromise consumers having a positive experience. Okay, number 6, the final phase, follow-up. We'll talk a lot more about this in one of our sales sessions, but the end of your relationship with the consumer does not end when they buy from you. They now have become a customer. This follow-up phase has to happen to ensure that the customer is happy with that purchase. A business has to ask. Now, whether it's a call from someone in the business, an email, a letter, or even a chance to complete a survey, the customer must always be asked if they're happy. If they aren't happy, then what is it that the business can do to address this? The business needs to review if they've made promises to the consumer about a product or service that may not have been honest. Or did the salesperson not take the time to ensure that the customer's experience and expectations would be fulfilled with that product or service that they bought? Follow-up also allows a business to address the pigeonhole effect. When a customer buys from a business, in that customer's mind, that product or service is the only thing that business offers. It is the responsibility of any business to remind its customers of all the products that it has to offer. When someone buys from a business, that means they have started this trusting relationship. If they are happy with the purchase, they will buy the same product again and again, or they may even buy other products and services. But they have to be reminded, and that's what follow-up can do. Remind them that you're there, remind them what you do, remind them that they trusted you once, they can trust you again. Phew! That was one of our longest online sessions. But it is a down and dirty course on how consumers can change their habitual behavior of buying the same product over and over again, and how you can create that knowledge and awareness to get them to consider buying your product and service, just providing that option for them. These 6 stages must be conducted in a strategic manner. You can't go right from awareness to experience and cut out the middle stages. It won't happen, and it won't build long-term knowledge about your business and its products and services.